Hey, you have Patrick Findaro here, managing partner at Visa Franchise. Gilberto, thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Patrick.
So, Gilberto's a former client of Visa Franchise. He opened up a PMI franchise, a property management franchise under the PMI brand, which is the largest property management franchise in the United States. And I just want to talk a little bit, catch up, and see
Sure.
how you're doing, and if you could tell us a little bit about why you decided to go to the U.S. Like, I love Rio de Janeiro. I lived there 14 years ago. It was one of the best years of my life. Surfing, walk everywhere. It's an amazing city. Why leave Rio for the U.S.?
Yes, Patrick. First of all, thank you again for inviting me, and this is a very nice opportunity for us to talk, and so I can share a little bit of my experience. Rio, as you said, is a fantastic city. It's a beautiful place. I grew up. I was born in Rio, in Botafogo, and I lived my life, my entire life in Rio, and it is a fantastic place to live. But as you also know, Brazil and also Rio, especially, it's a very tough place to do business,
Yeah.
and yeah, the challenges of being like a business person in Brazil and all the bureaucracy and everything. I maybe 5 6 years ago I decided to my family and I we decided to change to try a different experience. And since I'm a graduate of the American school in Rio, the American culture and the language, it just made sense. I have family here in Miami. I'm in Miami right now. I have family. I have a lot of friends from school, even from college. So
That's fun.
it's nice. So we just try to change to get a new experience. I spent 47 years in Rio, so now I'm trying to.
And Rio's it's a bit of a bubble where I think a lot of people like they hit a peak whether professionally and then like you're kind of there, and to continue expanding it, it's hard. It's not a
Exactly.
huge
Some of
economy.
them just go to São Paulo, some of them
Yeah.
go to Portugal, and some of them come to America. And that's how it usually works. So I still love the city, but it's I just wanted to try to give my sons also a different experience, learning a new language. Here they're already learning basically two new languages at the same time. So this is
Spanish, they already have Portuguese and
and a
English.
little bit
Incredible.
of Russian also, because we live in a community that have a lot of Russian and Ukrainian. So the school is full of Russian and Ukrainian kids. So they come home and they already speaking a few words,
That's awesome.
especially the bad words.
Ha!
Since they're teenagers, they learn the first ones.
So tell me a little bit about your work experience in Rio, because it's kind of similar to what you're doing in the United States now.
Yes, my in Brazil, in Rio, I have a property management company. I have a law degree in Brazil also, but I didn't practice law there. It was just a natural transition to find something that I could use my previous experience. So property management here would just make sense because of the experience. Of course, the laws, the everything we have to learn to become a real estate agent, eventually a broker, and also a realtor. It's a steep curve, but the fundamentals of dealing with owners, with tenants, residents, the dynamics are very similar. So I just found more. It made more sense to do something that I have already basically 18 years of experience.
Makes a lot of sense. And how did you decide about moving to the US and applying through the E2 visa? Because Brazil's not eligible for that. And I understood you leveraged your Spanish passport. You'll do your dual citizenship to apply for the E2 investor treaty visa.
Yes, what happened was back in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. We came here to visit as any other Brazilian, come to Miami, to Orlando, and since I was here, I set up a meeting with an attorney to discuss the possibilities. And I didn't even know of the E2 possibility for me, being also having a Spanish citizenship. So in the meeting, he said, "Look, this is a very good possibility for you." So we just went to from there. We just started to study the E2 and go to a few conferences. Actually, one of them was the one that we met in Rio.
Like, what was
I,
that? 2017?
Probably
Yeah,
2017 at the Transamerica Hotel in Baja. I don't.
Nabaja,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So that's where we met. So I just focused on E2, and then it went from there. So it was pretty easy to decide because the attorney said, look, this is the best way in terms of investment, also in terms of your citizenship. It just made sense.
And why work with us at Visa Franchise instead of just like contacting PMI directly or doing an independent business or acquiring an existing business? Why work with us to help on the franchise side and work with the attorney?
Okay, that's a very good question, Patrick, because sometimes we tend to think that we have all the answers and we know everything, but having a little bit of experience dealing with all sorts of professionals, even doctors,
Yeah.
architects, when we renovate our house, I learned through the processes that it's just better to listen to specialists. So I was before when I decided to do the to move and to do the change. I wasn't even considering a franchise at first because I thought that I knew everything there was to know about property management. Little did I know, but once the idea of acquiring a franchise became more grow in our project, it became more relevant. I started to remember that conference that I went to, and I just wanted somebody that had the experience and could give me, or at least present to me, a possibility of a franchise that was vetted, that had a good name in the market. Before that, I had a few experiences because I was listening to podcasts about property management, and I've heard of PMI and a few others. So it was in the back of my mind. So when I decided to do the franchise route, I think it just made sense for me to get a person who was a specialist and could do this transition. So it was
Do
very
you see,
important.
like, does the American consumer care more about the brand than like a Brazilian consumer? Like, is an
Yes,
American going to be more comfortable because it's, it's Gilberto, but it's PMI, and
of course.
that's what he has on the business card compared to in Brazil?
Yes, there was a phrase that one of the people who presented that conference back in 2017 in Rio. I never forgot about that. And he said that Brazilians like to be friends first and then do business.
Really?
You remember that, right?
Yeah.
And Americans like to do business, and when the business is okay and works, they become friends.
Yeah.
So this is I never forgot that phrase, and
Really good advice.
it is
And
very good
you can
advice.
see it play out.
Exactly.
Like
So
where we did business and we can get, beers outside our office on Lincoln Road, lunch, whatever. But we started like working first and then it progressed.
exactly, exactly. Let's do business. Let's see how serious he is. It's just like where Warren Buffett says when he wants to do business with somebody, he takes them to golf. If they cheat
Yeah.
at golf, they will cheat at business. So that's what happens. So I feel that in Brazil, we the personal connections are very important
Yes.
for the business consequence of that relationship. And here, the first thing that people do is go online, check the reviews, see how experienced you are, your curriculum, those little letters that under your signature in the email, all the awards or everything that you
Exactly.
have, certifications,
MBA, whatever.
yeah, MBA and all of those, realtor and all of that. So it makes a lot of difference who you are, but also who you represent. So to be able to get a brand that is recognized, respected nationwide, it's very important because when I present my services, I'm not presenting myself. I'm presenting PMI, the brand, presenting and representing. So I come with a lot of experience. In the residential area, for example, PMI is managing over 30,000 doors, properties. So just in the residential area. So this is a big deal. So
A lot of
it's
information sharing. And I know talking to our former clients that are franchisees, oftentimes the number one value isn't from the franchisor, rather the 300, 400 franchisees in the system. And yes, the franchisor is responsible for cultivating that information, but
Mm-hmm.
it's those connections, those insights that can really allow people to grow the business to the next level.
True, because we become, it could be a cliche, we become almost as a family because we
Yeah.
talk every day, we exchange information. I was surprised a few months ago that being in the process of setting up the business, I had already gone through a few hurdles in terms of what I had to learn and to be able to do the business. So, some franchisees that were before me, like in the beginning of the process, they just called me and said, "Look, how do I solve this problem here? How in terms of the bank account and in terms of certification for this, for that?" So I said, "But do I know all that already?" So because of the exchange of information, it's very rich.
Yeah, it's give and take. You give, the more you give, you're probably going to receive more, and you build credibility within the organization.
True, true.
Remind me, Gilberto, we did the study for you. We presented numerous franchises. Do you recall more or less how many franchises you spoke to?
Yes, that was as I said before. It was a very easy process for me because I have been listening to podcasts about property management,
Yeah.
and I knew the some brands, so it was an easy choice for me. So I actually didn't even when I asked for the questionnaire and everything, I said, "Look, I want something in the property management area, in the real estate. I don't want to have like if I have like in the restaurant business or some sort. No, I just
No.
want property management." So my choice was already made. I just wanted Visa franchise to be able to help me with choosing the best one within the area that I chose. Little did I know, Patrick, that Visa franchise would be much more important in the process after that.
We've
Because
really transformed to be like a one-stop shop where we'll bring in, if there's any issues with the attorneys, like, we can bring in a new one. Or
yes, yes,
is that what you're getting at?
yes, if you want, we can go
Sure.
there now, or we can talk about that later. But what happened was that I decided we hit the play button in January of 2020. So it was basically 2 months or a month and a half before everything closed down. When we decided, I was talking to PMI back in 2020, and everything shut down. We had to pause everything. So it was just a crazy period. And then I had some issues with the attorneys that were representing me, and we discussed that, and I decided to change. And that was when Visa franchise was instrumental, important, and basically made this possible. I could easily say that if it wasn't for Visa franchise at that moment, maybe I wouldn't be able to do it because
You
it
would have
was.
pulled the plug and just not made
Maybe,
the
yeah,
switch.
yeah. Not, it's not because of any bureaucratic or financial issues at the moment, at the time, but with the context of being in the middle of a pandemic that everybody thought it would last maybe a month, 3 months, and it wasn't. If it wasn't for Visa franchise, maybe we just like you said, we would just pull the plug because no, no, this is too much. It's not worth the. We don't know what's going to happen, and basically after that, when I asked for this help with Visa franchise, it was in December of 2020, and my application, if I'm not mistaken, was a year after that because the consulates were closed. So we basically didn't have a lot to do. I couldn't come to America to start the process of finding a place, doing the investments that we had. So I had to rely on friends and family here. But Visa franchise at that moment, helping me choose a new attorney and guide me through those steps with a better strategy was very important.
Well, I really appreciate, Gilberto, that insights. And the attorney side, it's really interesting because we have some solid attorneys we've worked with over the last 8 years. But a lot of times it will be like the attorney's doing a great job on the client service and product side for like 2 years, and then they don't respond as fast to our clients. And we have to tell them, we're very direct. Like, our clients, they're moving countries.
Yes.
They're
Changing
It's
life.
anxiety. Put them, have some empathy, and if you can't do it, just let us know and we'll find another attorney
Yes.
that will happily take on the case and meet our expectations of answering emails within 24 hours, being able to
Yes,
jump on a call, kind of basic things. But I think what happens with some law firms is they hit capacity and then they keep taking clients on
yes,
instead of like scaling up their team. So
exactly.
we're very mindful of that, and we have a very big network of attorneys where we also often are playing like placing clients with attorneys. Our incentives are aligned. We just want you to get the E2 visa fast and be happy. And our primary focus is on the franchise side, and that's our know-how is all the data on franchising. But it's the whole thing. It's the whole package, and we have to step in at times, like we did with your case.
Yes, and as you said, the biggest cultural it's not shock is maybe a strong word, but the biggest cultural obstacle that I found at first was exactly the time it took to answer the emails, because we're in a different country, as I was in the middle of a pandemic, and I needed answers. That now it's just some. It's now I know what I we went through, so it's easy. But at that moment, we are very insecure about doing something
Totally.
wrong, or doing
20
this
24 hours. Our company,
4 hours.
24 hours. It can just be like a little reply. Hey, I'll get back to you. I received this, but I got you. I'm with you.
Exactly, and it's very cultural also, because Brazilians. I can speak about my country. They like that kind of proximity and service. They even are proud, and they say, "No, my attorney is good. He answers me quickly. It doesn't have to be in an hour, but maybe 24 to 48 hours. Why not, right?" So it's very helpful, and that was the first thing that I found that wasn't how I thought it was.
And then like the miscommunication, everything can just like spiral out of
Exactly.
control when you don't have that flow.
Yes.
Going back to the business side, so you invested, applied for the E2 visa. COVID was a pain. Now processing times in Brazil are more like a month or two. I
Hmm.
think for your case, it might have been like 9 months to get
No,
the
no,
visa.
it actually was fast, because I applied in December of 21, and the interview was in February, if I'm not mistaken, February 3rd. So it
That's right.
wasn't,
When it started opening up much more. I thought you were a little earlier.
no,
So
no,
you got it pretty fast. You move here, you open up the business, and then you're presented with an opportunity. You made an acquisition. What? How
yes.
many months with the business open and you acquired?
When I started the process at PMI, we have an onboarding process, all the systems, the real estate license, getting a broker, everything that we have to do to set up a real estate company, basically. And then we go to a workshop. We spend a week at their headquarters, learning everything, getting the sales training and all that. So that was in end of September, close to the beginning of October. We heard a rumor that one of the franchisees here in Miami-Dade was actually decided to not to continue with the franchise. He had different opportunities, and that portfolio was presented to me, and I said, "Look, this just makes sense, because
Yeah.
I'm starting, and to be able to say to a prospect client that I have a certain number of doors and not zero. Anything above zero is a very good
Definitely.
resume. So we started talking in October, and I had to finish a few other setting up systems and all that. We signed the agreement in January, and I started managing these properties in February last month.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, acquisitions, once you're in the franchise system, like it can be other franchisees presenting to you directly, the franchisor, and you have someone that has your back. Like I just did an interview with a preschool franchise, and the franchisor will help for the acquisition of an independent preschool and convert it into their
Yes.
franchise. And I
Yes.
believe PMI has a similar program,
Yes, they
and it's nice having someone that's done M&A for 50, 100 deals, and the incentives are aligned. Like they want you to get a good term on the deal, and to make sure that the doors stick at a high rate. They get their royalty
of course.
from you, and increase the size of your business,
Yes.
the revenue, and then the profit potential.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. And PMI has like a department specifically for acquisitions. They have people that just deal with acquisitions, and they were very helpful in this process. even though it was within the PMI network, but
Yeah.
especially when it's from the outside, from a different a competitor or maybe a broker that does management. I have a colleague from workshop because we become sort of a class, like when we graduate. So he became a very good friend, and he made an acquisition, not here up north of in the state of Florida. He made an acquisition of 117 or maybe close to 120 properties right off the bat.
Wow.
So,
That's motivating. It's like
oh yes,
you've acquired your nice small portfolio, but it's like, all right, like
yeah,
I can
because
do much bigger. If he's doing
yeah,
it, I can do a bigger
yeah,
acquisition
and
down the line.
we went to the same workshop. He's now, it's a little hard to get to talk to him on the phone right now because of
Yeah.
everything that he's doing. Every day is like a
I'm sure his
new.
knees deep and work.
Yes, yes, yes. But he already hired a person to help him, and so it's basically a business that is already running and has revenue and even profit. So a franchisee, he could choose to go with the organic route, networking, doing the online ads, and getting his name out. But acquisitions is just a
It
turbo.
seems great to like do both. Like I have a client in LA County. It was a franchise system. I don't think we presented to you because they weren't accepting E2 visa holders at the point, but he's grown to 300 plus doors and all organically. The first client came from another franchisee referral, which is awesome. But now he's open to acquisitions. And it seems
Mhm.
like you should ideally you're always open to both because like a nice opportunity might come
You
and
never
you got
know.
to take it.
And the acquisition has a bonus, like a cherry on top of this of the ice cream, because it's not only the revenue and the clients you get if you do it correctly, and the person who's selling you the portfolio is also a nice person and helps you. You get their vendors,
Yeah.
their knowledge, some of the experience. So I could easily say that 40% of the worth that I got from the acquisition is not the portfolio itself, but everything those intangibles that surround the portfolio, the
Yeah, and
knowledge.
it's like,
How do we
"Hey,
do
how
this?
would you expand this portfolio if you were in my shoes?" Like, and he's probably tells you like, "Well, don't go that path." Like, I tried that 2 years ago. It was like not worth the time, high
Yes,
customer acquisition
it's
costs.
just a shortcut to growth, basically.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Gilberto, I don't want to take too much of your time, but any tips for those people that are looking to move to the United States, be an entrepreneur? Any things you wish you had done differently?
Yes, I wish there was no pandemic at first, but that's something else. What I could say to people who are considering getting a visa and investing, changing their lives, at first, plan your personal life as well as the business, because we tend to focus a lot on the business plan, everything that has to work in order to get the visa. But once you do get the visa, what are you going to do in terms of apartment, choosing the school for your kids if you have kids, how old your kids are, where they're going to go to school, and how much money you have to set aside, not only for the business, the working capital for the business, but the working capital for your life until your spouse gets a job. So it is it too could be a quicker process, but I would say learn the language
Yeah.
also. It's
I'm
very
always so
helpful.
hard on our clients, like because professional, then also personal opportunities. Like if you know English, and then even in South Florida, you should know Spanish too.
Oh yes, oh yes, it's almost mandatory. So
Yeah,
I'm learning Spanish every day. Every day it's a new word, and
coming
I
from
like that.
Portuguese though, you have a leg up. It's definitely easier.
Yeah, yeah. Even though I don't speak, I had the citizenship. I didn't speak the language, but at home, my grandmother used to speak Spanish, so I have the, like we say in Brazil, I have the ear for it. But I
Yeah,
would say that do a personal financial plan as well as the business, and also just like when you do a renovation in your home, if the budget is 100,
yeah.
try to like get like
Have a
maybe
cushion,
fifty
another
percent
50K.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because we never know what the prices are gonna be. The rent here, especially in South Florida, went up a
It's
lot
crazy.
because
Ours went up, I think, 30%.
yeah, even more in some areas. So and then sales
And it's
sometimes.
funny for you. It's like for your personal life, it sucks, but for your professional life, it's
Exactly,
great.
exactly.
It like
That's
nets
how
out.
I could sleep before coming
Yeah.
here. I said, no, no, okay, I'll be trying to dive under. Like if you surf, you know how it is to go under the wave, to dive under
Yeah,
the wave. But I can
exactly.
also surf it. It's a
Yeah,
good.
you can't fight the waves.
You can fight the
You
wave.
ride it or you go under and
Exactly. But since I'm in the real estate business, I could surf the wave also. So I will also profit from this market.
well, Gilberto, thanks so much for joining today. I really appreciate you sharing your experience moving to the US, especially in light of COVID. And yeah, anything I can do to help you, just let me know.
No, thank you very much, but you know how much how helpful you and Visa Franchise and everyone who works there, how they were, and I can only thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Gilberto.